And we welcome you to another edition of Three Big Questions as we get you ready for the next event in Season 5 of SailGP. It's the Germany Sail Grand Prix. Sassnitz alongside former Emirates GBR athlete Hannah Diamond and Olympian Stevie Morrison. I am Todd Harris. Hannah, we'll start with you. We're racing on the Baltic, another first for SailGP.
Yeah, that's right. A brand new venue for probably all of the teams. I don't know how many of the teams would have ever been to this part of Germany before, let alone sailed here. So it looks like we're going to have some offshore breeze, which will be probably quite shifty, but really pan flat water being tucked up right under that shoreline, which means there's not really much room for error. The water's going to be super flat. The boat's going to have to execute really high level of boat handling just to stay with the fleet. Any mistakes are going to be really punished.
Well, before we look forward, we want to look back. Stevie, last event on the Solent back in Portsmouth, an incident that people are still talking about. It's kind of filling the airwaves and the social media breakouts.
Yeah, race 6, gate 2. They've had the umpire debrief where all the teams came together this morning. Normally we get through about 8, 9, 10 incidents where they go through all of them. We spent an hour on the one incident. So I think the main takeaway was agree to disagree. It was a really tight incident. It was all based around, should the outside boat in Australia be moving away before GBR to create the space. Australia got a penalty. They felt really hard done by. Dylan Fletcher, when you watch the video back, the GBR boat kind of seems to just go straight. Well, he says, I didn't have any choice but to go straight. I just think that the tighter the racing gets, the more of these incidents were going to happen. Ultimately, it's kudos to the Canadians. Did an amazing job of avoiding a collision because, it could have been. But yeah, it's a tricky one because the right-of-way boat, Canada, in the incident, ended up being the boat that... got the biggest hammering, for want of a better word. They were right out of the back of the fleet after the incident. And I think that's, I guess can often be the nature of racing. And much like in Formula 1, Max Verstappen will nearly always think he's further alongside someone going into a corner.
Yeah.
Dylan's very much like Max Verstappen. So Dylan is absolutely adamant he was in the right. And that was the way the umpires viewed it. I think what's interesting from watching it back, and people will be able to look, if they do look on their socials and they'll see a lot of differing opinions, is the umpires actually adjudicated the foul a lot earlier in the incident than perhaps a lot of people do. The later on in the incident you look at it, the worse it looks for Great Britain and the more ridiculous it looks that Australia got a penalty. But actually when the incident's given, it's fine margins. Rules are black and white, but with any of it, there's plenty of chance to turn grey.
All right, let's get to the heart of the matter, the questions at hand. Hannah Diamond, I'll ask you this. Do you feel like we are at the point of the season for certain teams like Canada, like France, and maybe even Switzerland? This is make or break time. This weekend will really determine where they are in October.
Yeah, I mean, we're really coming to the business end of the season now, aren't we? And I think, for some of the teams, we've seen, some teams have performed consistently towards the top of the fleet, and that's been changing a little bit as the season's been going on. But it's sort of the teams who are in sort of 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Right.
They're the ones who really need to be stepping up. So Emirates, GBR, North Star, and the French team, they have got plenty to prove over the next couple of weekends, and they're sort of running out of time to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think the pressure this weekend really sits fairly squarely on North Star and France for me, because they're the two teams that I think have got the ability to get into the fight for the final. We've got 4 boats kind of away and gone at the moment. Emirates GBR are outside of it at the moment, but very much, in the mix. They're only 1 point off the Spanish in 3rd, so it's really tight. I think North Star, they've shown they can do really well. They've gone a bit cold for a few events. This venue, I think, will suit them. A few shifts and quite flat water, and it looks like we might have a bit of breeze, which, again, I think Giles quite enjoys. And France, what a season they've had. It's been sort of cursed, it seemed, in many ways, with some real bad moments. And then we saw on the Sunday in Portsmouth, give them the tools, give them the kit, they can go out there and be as good as anyone. So I think France or North Star, if they're going to get to the final, at least need a podium, probably need to win here. So the pressure starts to go on them. And then those top 4 boats, I think I'm still stinking chip away. The bottom boats, it's been an evolution, but we need to start seeing change. I saw an interview with Nikolai Seehestedt, and he was already kind of saying, let's try and get some momentum into season 6. So I think maybe Denmark, we're quite close to Denmark, so it's almost a home regatta for them. We know how good they are, but they've not had the season they'd want just yet. So I expect quite big things from Rockwell. I think it will suit them, and I think it could well suit North Star. So yeah, it should be interesting, but hard to look past the usual favourites. And we'd love to get a prediction from you, Tito. We're going to try and get a bit of a winner here. You managed to avoid this. Me and Hannah get stitched up. So I'm going to jump at you. What are your predictions for this weekend?
Well, I will predict that I've got 2 more questions to ask, and then I'll answer that question. So this is 3 big questions, Stevie. All right, so Hannah, I'm going to come back to you really quickly. For those teams that are in the bottom half, so we're looking at Switzerland, Red Bull, Italy, Rockwell, Denmark, Mubadala, Brazil, Germany, Deutsche Bank, and United States. Is it panic time for them? Do you think we will start seeing wholesale changes, maybe changes in staff, or they're already looking for season 6?
I think you can even split that group of boats into 2 separate groups as well, because you've got Red Bull Italy, who are definitely making some steady improvements. And I think it won't be long before we see them putting in some really top results, either in individual races or in whole events. The same with Mubadala Brazil. You know, they've had their first race win. They've shown some really promising signs. So I think for those 2 teams, they need to just keep working at the basics, keep kind of learning the boat as a team and making those steady improvements. But yeah, you're right. For Germany, Deutsche Bank, for the US SailGP team, you know, they really need to start asking some serious questions about how are we going to make the jump to the rest of the fleet.
And Stevie, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I suppose in the defense of the US team, I feel like we've got some roster changes in that US team, like Mellinger coming in and a few others, you know, Andrew Campbell being in there. So they've made some changes. So it's going to be interesting to see how they start to play out. They definitely have already kind of perhaps admitted things have got to change. I think, yeah, totally agree with Deutsche Bank. You know, they've been in many ways as big a disappointment as anyone this season for me because of the talent that's on that boat, and we've just not seen it yet.
All right, I'm going to throw an extra question here, but just because I can. I think a lot of pressure, and obviously they're in the running with points on 50 points, and that's only 4 points out of first place. Emirates GBR, is this event this weekend a make or break? They'll look back to season 5 and say it was Sassnitz that did us in, or it was Sassnitz where we made the turn?
Saturday in Portsmouth, they were so dominant, and in the fleet racing, it was such a strong performance from them, but didn't quite have the edge in the final to take the win in that event. So I think, you know, for some of these teams, making the final is sometimes a bit of an expectation, but that's only the first hurdle. You need to show that you can perform, you know, in that final race when it matters. And ultimately, it's all about winning the grand final in the last event in Abu Dhabi. So we're running out of opportunities for these teams to take the chance to make sure that they can perform in that 3-boat final, because ultimately that's what it comes down to.
Is Dylan Fletcher feeling the heat in Sassnitz this weekend?
They're all feeling the heat, Todd, aren't they? All of those boats in the top 4, you know, there's nothing to call in it. I mean, if we want to make a defence case for Emirates Great Britain, they had some boat troubles on that Sunday. They lost their momentum. Blackfoils got their momentum and put on a pretty dominant display. But yeah, I mean, all of those boats have got the heat on them. I still put the most pressure on Contan and Giles if they're going to, you know, they will have aspirations to be in the grand final. And as Hannah says, you've only got to just scrape into the grand final, and then it's one race for all the dollars, you know. So it's all open, but I think the big pressure's on Giles and Contan. They need to deliver. They need to come out firing. And yeah, I think Dylan, Diego, Tom and Pete, well, there's always pressure, isn't there? Pressure's a privilege, though, Todd.
No question about it. All right, our favorite part of 3 big questions, it's prediction time as I turn to the experts and get their picks. Stevie Morrison, we'll start with you. Who do you like? Give me a podium for the grand final. Give me a podium for the event final, and then who wins it all?
Okay, well, podium for the event final, I'm going to go Australia, Blackfoils, and France.
Okay.
And who wins it all? I come off that umpire call. Tom Slingsby is an angry man, and an angry, accurate Slingsby is pretty hard to beat. So I'm going to give it to the Bonds Flying Ruse.
Okay.
I'm going to match yours slightly. I'm going to go Blackfoils, Bonds Flying Ruse, and Emirates GBR, just for the consistency they've shown. I think it's going to be quite an easy venue to sail the boat. So the teams that just execute the highest percentage of the time are going to do well. But as for a winner, I'm going to go off the back of form from the last event, Blackfoils.
Wow. Okay.
T-Dog?
You know, I'm not the expert, but I will say I like Spain in light wind. I think Spain will be in the mix. And I guess my outlier would probably be North Star Canada. So maybe I'm with you, though. I think an angry Tom Slingsby there's going to be something to prove there, and don't get in Tom's way. But I think the Bonds Flying Ruse will certainly have something to say about it. So that is 3 big questions as we get you ready for the next event number 8, season 5. It is the Germany Sail Grand Prix Sassnitz. For Stevie Morrison and Hannah Diamond, I'm Todd Harris. We will see you after the racing.